This is your call to action. Get prepared, America. Economy, survival, energy, disasters. This is USAPrepares.com. Informative radio, educational radio. Interact now by emailing instructor@USAPrepares.com or text at 434-390-7953. Class, please take your seats. Now, your instructor, Vincent Finelli.
I love it. You know, before the broadcast, I check the connection, and I look at the delay and the jitter and packet loss. And, you know, whenever we're going to talk about something that's important, really important, something that the government doesn't like, we get more delay, more jitter. And that's what we're going to do today. Everyone all set, cocked, locked. Here we go. Your dial set correctly to USAPrepares.com. Broadcasting from high atop the Missouri Ozark Mountains. And there's a link to all of your instructors on the website, USAPREPARES.com. USAPrepares.com. Podcasts are free. You can listen live. You can listen on your smartphone. And if you need to revisit something or share what you hear on this broadcast with friends and family, USAPrepares.com. Converging threats, confronted daily. I'm Vincent Finelli. And Alex is producing the broadcast in Minnesota. Today we're going to discuss who runs the world. Is it possible that there's a group of people running the world, or are we all just little ants on this planet just doing our own thing? Let me ask you this. How many of you have been to Washington, D.C., sometimes called the District of Criminals, sometimes called Washington, D.C.? Well, have you ever been stuck on that beltway? It's like 5 lanes wide, bumper-to-bumper traffic, all trying to go in the same direction. Pickup trucks, tractor trailers, automobiles, limousines, motorcycles. Okay? So imagine this. Imagine you are stuck in bumper-to-bumper traffic, just crawling, maybe crawling. Well, imagine you're a senator or a congressperson in the back of one of those limousines that you see stuck in traffic with the dark windows that you can't see in. Imagine this discussion. That person knocking on the dividing glass to the driver saying, hey, who are these people in front of me? I've got important stuff to do. What's going on here? Imagine that. Do you think that ever happens? I do. Well, today we're going to discuss who runs the world. Mark Anderson's with us. Mark Anderson is our newest USAPrepares.com instructor. He's got 30 years of journalism experience. He is the new Bilderberg Hunter for the American Free Press, the Washington, D.C. Weekly, where he serves as roving editor. Welcome, Mark Anderson.
Thanks, Vince. Great to be on your show. First time.
Hey, yeah, it is, Mark, and I'd like to share with our class that you will be at the Get Prepared Expo. That's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. That's coming up this week, couple days. Friday, Saturday, right. Sunday. And, Mark, you're going to be talking about what you learned. So, first of all, let's start with this. Is there a group of individuals that runs the world?
Yeah, there is. It's really kind of unavoidable in the sense that when you allow a private corporation like the Fed and then the Bank of England to actually issue money for a nation, and when those that are in the monetary driver's seat are the sovereign, and when those monetary powers collude with government officials, you have a situation where you have a complete autopilot private government that has the tiger by the tail. The government that we commonly think of as our government is completely subservient to that kind of interaction. And so Yeah, inevitably the creme de la creme rises to the top. Unavoidably, you have a small minority that dictates the rules of the game, the rules of the market. They are the market. You hear words like free market. Well, yeah, it's free for them because they write the rules. And it's not market forces, it's forced markets. They literally write the game rules from A to Z for what even defines what a market is, let alone how it operates. So monetarily, economically, politically, right across the spectrum, culturally, they lay the ground rules, they create the entities, they build the machine, they turn the machine on, the machine runs. And there you have it, perpetual motion invented for the purpose of global consolidation.
Mark Anderson, would you say that those of us who believe that the people who we elect to represent our interests have been bought and paid for?
Yeah, bought and paid for is probably the least you could say, ironically. The U.S. government in particular, I've been overseas a little bit. I've been in the Swiss parliament. I've observed some other governments. I've talked with Swiss and British parliamentarians. I've met the Secretary of Defense of Switzerland and talked with a lot of people. And the U.S. government in particular seems to be immune to public input and really kind of running on a form of autopilot. It's amazing. It's as if as soon as they're christened as congressmen or senators, it's as if the people are literally just outside the proverbial fishbowl looking in, and the glass is too thick and opaque to hardly even see what they're doing, let alone hear what they're doing. And even when you go to Congress to watch the proceedings, it's difficult to see how the American people can have any substantive influence on this particular phase of the American government. Perhaps it wasn't always this way, but they're so beholden to lobbyists, and it's such a well-designed system for lobbyists that it's really hard to be heard. Not that it can't be done, but they are bought and paid for largely, and they seem to just operate in a reward system, all the perks they get, that just completely or nearly completely seduces the vast majority of them, just the way it operates. And so it's not very encouraging when you look at it strictly from the legislature of our nation in terms of how they operate and how hard it is for people to get them to even hear us, let alone do the right thing. And I'm an optimist generally, so I don't say these things lightly.
Yeah, and when we look at Eliot Spitzer, I mean, he's a national disgrace, and he's running for office. We look at Weiner; he's running for office in New York, and Weiner's running for office in New York. These guys would be the laughingstock of a real moral society. I mean, they would be outcasts. They would be disgraces, and yet they're running for office. I can't believe it. I just can't believe that anybody in their right mind would vote for these people. How is it possible, Mark, that people like this can rise to the top?
It is amazing.
They're deviates.
Very much so. Politics, for some reason, for reasons that I think we know, to some extent, it doesn't attract good, ethical, moral people. That generally speaking, people that want to do the right thing are not attracted to positions of power because they don't want power. It's perverse to want power over other people in any lasting or substantive way. I mean, a parent over a child, sure, you need a certain degree of authority. There is such a thing as a pecking order in society. We all acknowledge that, but the perverse people are attracted to positions of power. People like you and I, Vince, we don't get up one day and go, I want to rule Bulgaria. It's just not on our plate. We don't think that way. But some people are just a type of personality that they lust to exercise control over others for the sake of doing it. What they do in terms of their legislative or executive decisions is secondary to this lust for control that some would call satanic, others certainly, and anyone would call perverse. but you have that basic thing working against you, where the worst of society are attracted, and then there's the weird dynamics, like you can have a president or a senator or a John Brennan authorizing brutal drone strikes, largely against innocent people, and killing innocent families in their beds somehow doesn't get the Brennans of the world fired. But if he chases a skirt somewhere or has an indiscreet moment, maybe like a Petraeus, suddenly they're in hot water over skirts and high heels, and not over the arbitrary killing of innocents. What kind of society are we that we only get angry when they're, doing things of a sexual nature, or some sort of adultery or something relatively puerile like that, and yet the real brutality, the real evil tendencies and evil policies, when they're carried out, sometimes register a little more than a yawn. That's another thing, and I think that's a media-fed obsession, where the media is so focused on scandal and puerile things and, sexual indiscretions, that somehow we've come to see that as worse than the actual abuse of political power.
Mark, I'm glad you're bringing this up, because I've been thinking for days upon days about Trayvon Martin and George Zimmerman. And my reaction to this is it's a smokescreen, it's a diversion from the real problem.
Yes,
and I believe that
I think
the media,
that's largely true. Yes.
And I believe that the media and our government are working together to keep us focused away from the real problem, focused on Trayvon Martin. And the real problem, there's so many real problems, but one of them is the pending collapse of our economic system. Do you agree with that?
Yes, I do. Whenever I see these long trials, a woman that did something to her children, or the Zimmerman trial, I think, okay, what's going on? And immediately I begin to look at the IMF, the World Bank, the Export-Import Bank, the Federal Reserve, the Bank of England. You start looking at what's going on, particularly in the economic realm. And, sure enough, you'll find that a number of policies, the IMF kind of jockeying to position to try and convert special drawing rights into a new de facto world currency is a very distinct possibility, for one thing, among many others.
Mark Anderson's with us, American Free Press. He is our newest USApreparedness.com instructor. Glad to have you aboard, Mark. And Mark will be presenting a seminar on what's happening and what the Bilderberg Group is up to and what he's learned at the Get Prepared Expo. He'll be with us Friday, Saturday, Sunday this week, Lebanon, Missouri. Class, I just got off the phone with Brooklyn Bagwell, Doomsday Preppers. She asked if she could come to the Get Prepared Expo. And I said, absolutely, certainly. We'd love to have her. She's been to our expos before. And I think she wants to do a casting call. I think that's why she wants to come. So Brooklyn Bagwell, we would like to welcome her to the Get Prepared Expo. And she's working on the final arrangements, final approvals through Sharp Entertainment and National Geographic to be with us this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And she wants to come to the farm. She wants to shoot a .45 and an AR-15, and she wants to see what a big tractor's like, because she hails from New York City. And so she wants to get on a big tractor, drive a big tractor, and do stuff like that farmers do. Mark Anderson's with us. Mark Anderson, we're talking about the Bilderberg Group. Let me ask you this. Do the people that we're discussing, that we've elected, are they able to start wars and kill people without any personal repercussions?
I think to some extent, yes. I think the personal repercussions would probably vary with circumstances at any given time. But when you talk about people like David Cameron, the Prime Minister of Britain, for example, who went to this year's Bilderberg meeting that I covered kind of at the last minute. He was not on the official invitation list. He certainly is a phone call away from putting the F-16s in the air. You have people that go to Bilderberg, of course, that are not military. You have Google people and LinkedIn people and lots of think tankers from Hoover and Hudson and Brookings. But yes, if we're talking in the context of Bilderberg, there are NATO brass there, which had a lot of controversy in Switzerland when Bilderberg met there a couple of years ago. That was an interesting chapter. But I think that with the advent of drones, of course, the idea of military actions and military-type actions being on an almost constant basis, virtually on autopilot, is becoming a very grim reality. I think at any given time now, literally, there is a war going on and that the West is behind it. And so this would have been unheard of course, in the World War II and Korean generations. Even as recently as at least part of the Vietnam War, the idea was if there really was an enemy, and I don't think there's really been any just wars in recent memory, that you fight the war, you conclude the war, you sign the peace treaty, and you go home, and that there's something called actually victory of sorts. But that whole idea is just out the window. There's no beginning, middle, and end anymore. It's incredible. And so, yeah, there are people that are facilitating this around-the-clock warfare, clandestine operations by the CIA, and all the privatization, the former Blackwaters of the world, and all the boots on the ground that are soldiers of fortune and mercenaries. Pretty soon you don't know who's wearing what uniform, who's wearing what boots, who's private, who's a regular Army soldier. The whole thing is just blurring into one Gordian knot of perpetual war. And of that, of course, instills the kind of fear that the world's financial forces need to carry out their ownership of the world's creation of money and credit at interest, which is the engine of their power. That's the very fountainhead of how they control governments and us. And yes, the answer is basically yes.
When you mentioned the uniforms are getting darker. The sheriff's uniforms in counties used to be tan and brown, with a highlight of brown. Tan slacks, tan shirts with, maybe some brown stripes here and there.
Right.
Now, and then they got to be blue and then darker blue, and now it's almost black. Intimidation, the dark sunglasses that are reflective and you can't see the eyes of the person behind them. And then the uniform name tags that are Velcro, where they can rip them off in a second. They can rip off their rank, they can rip off their names, and then these guys become nameless, faceless people, and they wear ski masks, if you will, so you can't see their faces. But when you go to get your driver's license, they want a retina scan. They want to scan your eyeballs to make sure they can tell who you are, but we can't tell who they are. I'm Vincent Finelli. Mark Anderson. We'll be right back. If you want to contact Mark Anderson, you can go to usaprepares.com, page 1, bottom of the page, under instructors, under the political section, Mark Anderson, American Free Press. Click on the link. It'll take you to the website. Mark, Harry S. Truman was president of the United States. He was president during the conclusion of World War II. When he moved back after serving this country to Missouri, he did not have the Secret Service. He did not have the armed guards. He just moved back home. And when I think about that, and he was the person who concluded World War II for the United States of America. When I think about that, and I think about the current regime that we have with the entourage of security and the black limousines and the motorcades and the armed guards and the airplanes and the tanks, it's endless. Well, what's the security like at the Bilderberg Conference?
It's very tight. Of course, it's a little more subtle. You don't see, overtly, you don't see any kind of armored vehicles, that is, armored personnel carriers, or like tanks or, howitzers or anything. You see helicopters flying over. You see the plainclothes privately hired Bilderberg security very close to the hotel, and then the police are used as the outer ring. And, of course, there's a lot of controversy there on a practical level about having unionized police officers work overtime and putting so many of them on one assignment, thereby lessening police coverage and protection in other parts of the city and diminishing it elsewhere just to guard these silver spoons in the hotel. You and I, if we rented a resort and closed it off to the public and put armed guards, our own armed security around it, and if we wanted the regular publicly paid for police to guard the outer ring, they would just laugh at you. You wouldn't even get a hearing, let alone the protection. But the Bilderbergers, they snap their fingers and everyone goes to attention. I guess when you're, billionaire, trillionaires, you have a big footprint and it thunders loudly when it hits the ground. And it displaces a lot of resources, and I won't go into that. Time is precious on radio. But yeah, it's not something that looks like a military thing, but it's like you're at a James Bond lair or something. That's a slightly fanciful way of looking at it, but almost like Dr. No is inside or something.
Well, Mark, I can tell you that the Get Prepared Expo, we used to hire the police to be at the expo, and it was a fixed price. They would charge us, and we had to pay for it. It was our event, our private event, just like you're talking about. We had to pay for it. We didn't get any free police, and now we don't want any. So, but why? What are they afraid of? Why do they need this secrecy? If are they doing something that might get them hurt?
That's sort of a Gordian knot in itself. A point of clarity is that there is evidence that they do provide a grant to police to help with the cost, but then people, I think rightly so, call that almost a form of bribery.
Sure.
You're gonna, so whether they pay for the regular police or not, when you have people of that so-called caliber, the questions never go away. The conflicts of interest never really truly subside. Beyond that, the part of it is simply because there's royalty there. The royalty of Holland is always there. The royalty of Sweden, Carl Bildt, is always there. The English royalty does not go. They send Cameron, who's as their water boy, or whoever the PM is. But some of it is just because there are, admittedly, people there that are, at the top of the heap in terms of decision-making and or royalty. And you would expect some security just by who they are. But it goes deeper than that. And that, of course, is because there's a collusion between the top corporations, the media moguls, those that have been there the longest, like CEO of the Washington Post company, Donald Graham, and the big bankers and the NATO brass and select prime ministers and finance ministers. It's beyond the individuals. It's this unique mixture, this very concentrated mixture. Remember, there's only about 140 of them. And so it's a constellation of who they are, not just individually, that brings it upon, how would you say, that necessitates this idea that they not only have to protect individuals, but at almost all costs, they have to not allow anyone to slip in there from the public or the press that's unauthorized to hear what they're talking about, because as Michael Meacher, the MP that I spoke to there on the grounds, the member of Parliament from the Labour Party, as he so adroitly said both to me and on the floor of the House of Commons, bringing up Bilderberg, this was a historic thing this year. As he said, they don't come traveling thousands of miles, people this caliber, just to have a cozy chat, quote, unquote. That's an exact quote. And, and that's true. They have extremely tight schedules. Virtually every minute is accounted for on some of those people. And they're not just going to go over there to talk about golf scores and fox hunts and, their latest conquests of, women or, the best scotch, although that might come up on the side. But, they're they're individually important, many of them, so they're guarded heavily for that reason. But beyond that, it's what they're doing, and they want to make sure no one slips in there disguised as a waiter or waitress that they don't know about, who has a MP3 audio recorder or something like that. And that's what you're dealing with. It's interesting. It's a fun thing to cover in as much as it's very serious, but it's a real operation to cover it in as much as they're carrying out such a sophisticated operation to do what they're doing. And many of us are kind of amazed that they're still all meeting under one roof like they have been since 1954. This year in England was their 61st Bilderberg meeting. A lot of us are wondering why don't they just teleconference from various locations or meet at one of the posh homes that they have in terms of their private estates. Why do they meet at these hotels, for crying out loud? But they have their reasons, and there you have it.
Well, Mark, I was talking with a historian, and I asked him to define royalty. I'd like to get your reaction to this. And he very quickly said, oh, royalty, those are people who are willing to kill more than their enemies were willing to kill.
Well, I mean, I guess that depends on which royal you're talking about, and I don't know that that's an absolute.
But it's an indicator, isn't it?
Yeah, it's indicative. A lot of people think the whole idea of royalty is anachronistic, that we don't need it anymore. Others have this national pride and the traditions of having a royal family, of having a king. Mm-hmm. I suppose it has its appeal culturally and historically. But the royals are, of course, everyone's known for a long time that they don't go very far outside the fence when they have children. There's a lot of inbreeding going on. The gene pool is shockingly small, and that it tends to breed insanity. And you have these amoral matoids meeting together from all these different corporations and royal positions in government. And one woman at the Bilderberg meeting in England described it as the Bilderbergers are the elite looking down the hill from the Grove Hotel upon a vast peasantry, and that the media area that they gave us that fenced everyone in was our sheep pen, quote, unquote. That's metaphorical, yes, but it has a certain degree of reality, and that was even quoted in one of the articles I wrote at American Free Press, that this is what some people were saying, because this year, for the first time, they put up a perimeter fence, a place for the protesters and press to go, that was actually on the same grounds of the hotel where the Bilderbergers were meeting. It's just that this estate, the Grove, which used to belong to the Earls of Clarendon, is several thousand acres, and there's a huge golf course. So the very fact that we were on the edge of the property doesn't mean much, because the hotel they were meeting at was probably the better part of a mile away from where we were allowed onto the same property. So, just because we were on the same land didn't really mean a whole lot. We were still just about a mile away.
Mark Anderson, if they were up to good works, good deeds, good actions, why would they be concerned about a leak from an MP3 player carried by a waiter or a waitress or a groundskeeper or someone like that? How could they possibly think that we would think that all these people are up to good when they arrive in darkened limousines, windows darkened so you can't see who they are. They don't want to be photographed. They don't even want people to know who they are. How can anybody believe that they're up to good?
Well, that ties right into what MP Kenneth Clark said on the floor of the House of Commons, responding to Michael Meacher, the Labor Party MP I mentioned a couple of minutes ago. He admitted right on the floor of the House of Commons that this was the first time Bilderberg had ever been discussed on the floor of one of the oldest parliaments in the world, and that was this year. We believe that's a breakthrough, that Meacher came and talked to me and some other fine reporters from the UK column and others that were out there really working hard and have been for a long time. And we gave Mr. Meacher all the encouragement we could, and sure enough, he took this to the floor of the parliament, one of the oldest parliaments in the world, and for the first time this year, for the first time ever, Bilderberg was discussed for over 20 minutes and debated. And Kenneth Clark, the MP that was responding to Meacher, admitted right there, well, I'll come right out and say I've been a member of the steering committee of Bilderberg for the last 10 years. He's saying this for the first time in public, and he said that then he used his circular reasoning, Vince, that addresses exactly what you're asking about. Well, we don't make any decisions. We just like to learn from each other. We're kind of the top people from our different fields, and we just go there to kind of have an educational weekend. But Chatham House rules says that we can't discuss it. So it's circular reasoning. It's nothing to worry about, but we can't discuss it. Oh, it's nothing to worry about, but hey, we can't discuss it. Complete circular reasoning.
Mark Anderson, American Free Press, is going to be at the Get Prepared Expo this Friday, Saturday, Sunday, right here in Lebanon, Missouri. Information is on the website, usaprepares.com. We'll be right back. Mark Anderson's with us, American Free Press. Mark, many years ago when I had a job back in the 80s, there was a rumor that our bank was going to be closing, and the vice president or senior vice president would say, hey, look, you can't believe rumors. Really, you can't believe rumors. Really shortly after that, he asked me to go to lunch with him. And so at lunch he said, hey, Vinny, I'm going to lose my job. And I was really upset. And he said, oh, by the way, you're going to lose your job too. And he said, we're going to close down the plant, and we need your help to close down the plant. The bottom line is, there you have it. Is that lying by careful selection of words? Absolutely it is. And that's what you're talking about with the circular logic. Mark Anderson, what is our greatest concern about what the Bilderberg Group is up to? What is your greatest concern?
Probably the greatest concern right now in the time we have to discuss it here is that they're at a very pivotal point. Michael Meacher, the Labor Party MP that I spoke about that exposed Bilderberg for the first time ever on the floor of one of the oldest legislatures on earth this year, he talked about that the Bilderbergers see this as a crisis in capitalism, quote unquote. And, of course, that's the particular model of capitalism that the Bilderbergers espouse, and that is the complete privatization of everything, even the privatization of government itself. And I think they're at a crossroads because the jig is up to an extent, and they have to try and get everything on a fast track on the express lane for their plans en route to global consolidation. And they know that they're vulnerable, that their Achilles heel is showing more. Meacher helped expose it that much more. And my biggest concern is that they'll throw their weight around a little more than we'd care for them to do. They'll do some more drastic things in trying to tighten the grip the rest of the way. But our job, of course, is to expose them so much and dissect them so much that they never quite get that grip, and they never have to, hopefully, do anything drastic, such as collapse economies or instigate more wars, U.S. involvement in Syria and or Iran. Although wars have been sort of the bread and butter of Bilderberg and related groups, the Trilateral Commission, the Club of Rome, Bilderberg's not the only game in town. Keep that in mind. They're just sort of the final exchange of envelopes, packets, kind of the final vote, kind of the planning commission where the others, I think, are more policy formulators, especially the think tanks. They're the intellectual heavy lifters. They do the heavy lifting in terms of working out all these policies. But they want to consolidate Europe into a United States of Europe. Remember, the Bilderberg Group basically created the groundwork for the European Union itself. So, we don't make any plans, other than consolidating Europe from the very beginning. Other than that, we don't make any plans,
Yeah.
So my biggest concern is that they'll stay ahead of the curve, stay ahead of us a little bit to where we can't head them off at the pass and say no more. These kind of meetings have to end. I get very intolerant when I hear, well, let's just expose them and that'll take care of it. No, we have to go beyond exposure, seek solutions. There's people that need to go to jail. These things have to stop happening, not allow them to put out some quasi transparency, because that's another thing the Bilderberg Group is trying to do. They're trying to say, well, here's a little press release, so here's a little bit more, and here we'll be a little more proactive with our name list. That's transparent enough, right? Now you guys go away. Everything's fine. Remember, we don't make any decisions. We just love to chat and educate each other, but we can't talk about it. Mm-hmm. And so they want to give us this pseudo transparency, so we'll go away. But of course, we're not going to let them do that.
Can you suggest a link between the protocols of the Learned Elders of Zion and the Bilderberg Group?
Tangibly, it's a tough one. I've read the protocols. Many of us have. They're very broad. I think the Bilderberg Group simply fits in, wittingly or not, it fits in with sort of global planning mechanism they need for high finance and big media and government and military to get their assigned positions and to carry out some of the things that you may find in the protocol.
Mark Anderson, American Free Press. He's going to be with us at the Get Prepared Expo Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. That's this Friday, this Saturday, this Sunday. GetPreparedExpo.com. GetPreparedExpo.com. I suggest you consider attending. Mark, thanks so much for being with us. We'll have you back again and again and again, and I'm looking forward to meeting you at the Expo.
You too, Vince. Thank you.
Dr. Joel Wallach coming up next.
This is your call to action. Get prepared, America. Economy, survival, energy, disasters. This is USAPrepares.com. Informative radio, educational radio. Interact now by emailing instructor@USAPrepares.com or text at 434-390-7953. Class, please take your seats. Now, your instructor, Vincent Finelli.
This ought to be a fun broadcast, class. Everyone all set? Cocked? Locked? This is hour number 2 of USAPrepares.com. Dr. Joel Wallach is with us. Welcome, Dr. Joel Wallach.
I am here, Vincent. Thank you so much for your hospitality.
I was thinking back to one of our meetups where you were there, and you absolutely riveted the entire group, standing room only. You packed Ziggy's. It was a lot of fun. Dr. Wallach, can you describe for those who just hear me talk about, the meetups every once in a while, could you describe what they're like for our class in your words from someone, who looks at it objectively?
Okay, well, thank you. Yeah, well, I've taught all kinds of groups of people, from professionals to groups of farmers, talking about auctions and things like this. And I love the meetups because everybody there is interested in one thing, and that is their survival of their church, their survival of their community, survival of their families, survival of themselves. And they're intensely interested in making sure that everybody makes it. And I love it because you're right in the middle. It's not like you're up on a stage and you're distant from the audience. You're part of the audience. It's interactive. It's about as good as it gets.
Yeah, and we love having you at our meetups. And Dr. Wallach, you're headed this way for Friday. Well, I guess you're going to be in town Thursday. Is that right?
Actually, I'm going to be in town tomorrow, Wednesday.
Wow.
And so I'm ready to go. I can do a lot of stuff with you on Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
We are locked and loaded, as you say, ready for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Well, that's exciting, and I understand that someone has arranged lunch. You and I are going to have lunch together, and I'm looking forward to that. I think that's on Friday during setup day, so that ought to be a lot of fun. We'll be able to catch up. Dr. Wallach, can you share with us what you've got? A couple seminars that you're going to be doing. You're going to be at your Get Prepared Expo booth, and you're going to be talking one-on-one with a lot of people. Can you explain what we're going to learn at your seminars?
Okay. Well, basically what makes me different, Vincent, is I do have a degree in agriculture. My major is in animal husbandry and nutrition. We don't have health insurance for animals, so we just have to learn how to prevent and reverse problems using nutritional approaches on a herd and flock basis. And then I do have a degree in veterinary medicine. I'm a comparative pathologist where I do autopsies on people and animals. One big project I did with the Center for the Biology of Natural Systems in Washington University. Over a period of 10 years, I did over 20,000 autopsies, 10 million chemistries, 10 million slides of special stains. I was looking to see, this is a big federal grant. It was like $25 million, which is chump change now. It was a lot of money back then, the 60s. And the whole purpose was to see if pollution had anything to do with the cause of death from natural causes. And the book that came out of that's in the Smithsonian Institute as a national treasure, but they'll probably never be able to afford to do that again because of the prices today. But basically, the bottom line was that ambient pollution, if you're well-nourished, is not a big deal, but nutritional deficiencies are the biggest cause of death from natural causes. And so what we're going to talk about in my lectures there at the expo is to make sure that everybody knows how to protect themselves and their family. I will show them how to prevent and reverse arthritis, obesity, high blood pressure, heart disease, Alzheimer's disease. You notice they say prevent and reverse. Birth defects are very, very simple things to prevent. Many of them, like muscular dystrophy and cystic fibrosis, are easy to reverse. Even in the uterus, if you catch it early enough, Down syndrome is reversible. I did that with Evel Knievel's niece-in-law. And so that was kind of cool. But when it comes to high blood pressure, heart disease, obesity, diabetes, lupus, arthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, these are all totally preventable, totally reversible with nutritional programs. And so I'm going to show people how to be independent. This is just a wonderful way to save America, is to take care of ourselves. I'm 74. I have not, Vincent, been to a doctor in 65 years. I've been taking the 90 essential nutrients twice a day for 65 years. I've never been on a prescription medication, never. And if everybody were like me medically, the medical system would be very, very humble. They actually legislated themselves into being a protected monopoly starting in 1914. So for almost 100 years, they've been a protected monopoly. They're self-policing. They actually, in 2007, the Centers for Disease Control, federal agency that tracks this stuff, came out. It was a full-page article in the USA Today. The data came from the Center for Disease Control out of Atlanta, Georgia. And he said that medical doctors in America each year kill, injure, and infect 15 million Americans, 5.8 million in hospitals, and 9.2 million in their private offices and clinics. And who would fly commercial airlines if they knew that commercial airlines killed, injured, and infected 15 million passengers every year? They just in hospital alone, they infect 2 million, 90,000 die. We went to war in Afghanistan because these Al-Qaeda guys killed 3,000 Americans. Well, here's one trade in their workplace, just from infections. They kill 90,000 Americans every year, and nobody seems to care. So the way to solve the problem is to not need them. And so I teach people how to protect themselves, how to be disease-free, how to stay healthy, add 25, 50 healthy years of life. I don't care if you've been legally blind with macular degeneration for 8 years. I can reverse that. You'll be reading 20/20 in 90 days. And I won't charge you anything for my services. And even if people insist, Vincent, even if people insist on paying retail, we will only charge them wholesale for the products at your event.
Dr. Wallach, I want to share something with you. I have in front of me a bottle of D-stress, D-stress, D-S-T-R-E-S-S.
I'm very familiar with
it. I'm sure you are. And the reason I'm kind of chuckling here is I was telling you about a year ago that, I'm on the air, and I read, at the time it was 3.5 hours a day, and I was reading, computer screens and writing my broadcast notes, and my eyes were like burning after each 1 hour broadcast, and I'd have to close my eyes, and you said, I can fix that. And you said all you have to do is take de-stress in 90 days or 30 days. You won't believe the difference. Well, I did, And I literally take de-stress every day, and my eyes do not have the problems that they had before. I'm absolutely serious, and what I'm saying is you were absolutely right, and thank you so much. And then I talked to you about congestive heart failure, and my mom was diagnosed with that many, many, many years ago, and each doctor seemed to pile on more and more meds. And we talked about that, and you said put her on de-stress and tangy tangerine, and I take tangy tangerine also, and she can get off most, if not all, of her meds. Well, that is the case. She is off all of them except for one, and she has been for a year. So what I want to say is you're absolutely right, and the things that Dr. Wallach, seriously, the things that you say seem to be extraordinarily outrageous claims. Outrageous. Well, you're right, and they work. I'm serious about that. So I'm delighted to have you at the Get Prepared Expo. I'm delighted to have you on this broadcast. And I learned about you in the 1990s, and I drove the entire family from Virginia to Indianapolis, where you were speaking, because I wanted the family to meet you. So what I'm saying is I've known about you for a long time. I've listened to your tape. I still have the original cassette tape from Dead Doctors Don't Lie from the 1990s. So the bottom line is you are right. That's what I'm saying. Thank you so much. Seriously.
Well, I appreciate that. And, of course, even though things that I say seem outrageous, they're literally built on hundreds of billions, if not trillions of dollars worth of research by the U.S. Department of Agriculture, the agricultural universities, in some cases even medical universities, and just doctors choose to ignore this stuff because they'll only make $300 if they cure somebody. If they treat you for 25 years, they'll make $750,000 through insurance. And so they would rather choose and cure you, and since they are a protected monopoly, there's no laws requiring them, and there's no ethical canons in their medical profession that require them to cure you when there's a cure available. The choice is left up to them, and because there's insurance, medical doctors, Vincent, have learned to game the system, and 30 cents out of every medical dollar that your associates and students and listeners and followers spend on health care, 30 cents out of every dollar goes to fraud directly into your doctor's pocket, absolutely fraud. It amounts to 1/3 of the medical budget of every family. 1/3 is fraud. And I will show them the federal study when I lecture at your expo here coming up. I will show them the data from the U.S. government, how the medical system has gamed each person. 30 cents out of every dollar goes directly into the doctor's pocket as a fraudulent billing.
Dr. Wallach, I see my medical doctor once a year for a checkup. I have no idea why. I don't need to, and I probably need to just stop doing that.
Yeah, well, you can actually do the same thing yourself. I actually came up with a book called Let's Play Doctor. Mm-hmm. It's actually the same format as the Merck Manual, which is kind of a handbook for newly graduated medical doctors. The first 1/3 of that book, just like in the Merck Manual, the first third of that book, Let's Play Doctor, it teaches people how to do their own lab tests. You can go into any pharmacy, and without a prescription, you can buy every lab test that the doctor uses to give you a physical for less than $5 each time. I mean, they come in jars of maybe 10 strips, but each strip is like $1.50, and you'll need 2 or 3 of those strips for urine test, blood test. You can tell if you have diabetes. You can tell what your cholesterol is. You can tell if you have infection, blood sugar, or protein in your urine. It's all for less than $3.
Dr. Joel Wallach, you're going to get a chance to meet him, talk to him, have dinner with him at the Get Prepared Expo. That's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Friday, we have our first survival banquet dinner, 6 o'clock, $8. Saturday, 6 o'clock, our second survival banquet dinner. Dr. Joel Wallach and I will be right back. Class, I just looked up Let's Play Doctor by Ma Lan and Dr. Joel Wallach. $14.95 cover price. Dr. Wallach, so you said $5 for the supplies from the local drugstore, $14.95. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Any pharmacy, Vincent,
And so,
you can do your own physical for less than $5. You can even do a colonoscopic exam yourself. You use what we call an occult blood test. You take some toilet paper after you've wiped your bottom, put a little poop on the gel. If it turns color, you got some blood in there. It could be from eating the steak the night before, but it could be something you should be concerned about. And so you can go into a radiology lab without a prescription and get a high-resolution ultrasound, no radiation. You actually get a lot of information that way. Nobody sticks a garden hose up your rump, and you can find out if you have ulcerative colitis or anything going on there that needs to be dealt with. But I love these test strips. They cost the doctor $150 each, and he charges you $800 for a physical. And so you can do your own physical in the book that tells you how to interpret all the numbers. And then the last two-thirds of the book goes into 420 diseases and teaches you how to prevent them, how to reverse them using vitamins and minerals and trace minerals and rare earths, amino acids, fatty acids, herbs, and aromatherapy oils.
You know, as I'm listening to you, it would be absolutely crazy not to have this book in a family library. Absolutely crazy not to have it. Because as our medical system becomes more and more resistant to taking care of patients. And believe me, if you're sick and you need to go to the doctor, just try to get an appointment. Just try it. See how well that works for you. If you've got a fever of 104 and you want to call your doctor and go see your doctor, you might see him maybe next month. That's what it's becoming. And doctors are leaving medicine because of the government regulations. They can't stand it. So they're pulling out. And at the same time, there are more of us. And if we absolutely positively have to take care of ourselves, and that's all there is to it. Dr. Wallach, as I was saying, I have a family doctor, and I see him once a year, and I always ask him, okay, so what do you recommend? And he says, no, just keep doing what you're doing. Should I take any vitamins or supplements? Nope, you get all that stuff in food, you're doing fine. Now, what he doesn't know is I've been taking vitamins and minerals and supplements all my life. In the last couple of years, I've been taking your supplements, and I have a lot more energy. Otherwise, I would not be able to do what I do. And I have seen you, Dr. Wallach. I've had meals with you. I've had dinner with you. I've had lunch with you. And you take the supplements. I have seen you, every time we eat together, take the supplements that you recommend, every single time.
I've been doing it twice a day for 65 years, Vincent. I have never missed a meal with my supplements, all 90 essential nutrients, 60 minerals, 16 vitamins, 12 essential amino acids, 3 essential fatty acids, twice a day for 65 years, since I was 9 years old. I have never missed. It's been a blessing.
Well, Dr. Wallach,
65 years without ever being sick, that's a blessing.
You are a farmer, I'm a farmer, and I am absolutely certain that if I feed my animals a healthy diet and I give them supplements, they are happier, they're healthier, and they don't die. They don't die on me. And if I don't, unhealthy animals are prey for predators. I've seen it. I've seen unhealthy cattle on farms around us. So I'm convinced that the best way to go is to prevent disease through eating healthy food, growing your own food, and supplementation. I'm convinced of it. Have you seen dramatic differences in people when you come to events and you see them a year later, let's say, after they have decided, you know what, I think you're right, and they followed your advice? Have you seen them a year later can you tell us any dramatic stories?
Sure. Well, I see this all the time, Vincent. People that have bone-to-bone arthritis, they're scheduled for double knee replacement, and I'll say, look, give me 90 days. If I fail, you can always get the surgery. But if you do the surgery first, you can't always get unsurgery, unparalyzed, and undead. So give me 90 days, and you'll be happy you did. Same way with a heart transplant. Yeah, give me 90 days. Don't get a heart transplant. I'll rebuild the one you got, one that the good Lord gave you.
Dr. Joel Wallach, you're going to get a chance to see him at the Get Prepared Expo this weekend, and you get a chance to have dinner with him twice, Friday and Saturday. and 2 seminars, Dr. Joel Wallach, and you'll get to talk to him one-on-one. We'll be right back. Dr. Joel Wallach's with us, and in a few minutes I'm going to give you some contact information. If you want to buy supplements and you want to pay the same discounted prices that I pay for them, we'll give you some phone numbers. And I'll also give you the website to contact. Seriously, I do not get the products for free. I pay the same prices that you will. But I don't like paying retail. I'm allergic to paying retail for anything, Dr. Wallach. You'd mentioned quite some time ago when you and I were broadcasting, I mentioned that I heat our farmhouse with wood. We have an outdoor wood furnace. And we talked about my grandparents and how they put the wood ashes in their gardens. And their plants grew very, very healthy and produced healthy fruit. Can you share with us why that is and why so many of us are unhealthy?
Well, you hit the nail on the head, Vincent. People say, my granddaddy lived to be 102 and he didn't take vitamins, minerals. Well, yes, he did. He didn't take them in capsules, but what he did was take his wood ashes, which are not really wood ashes. When you have wood ashes from a wood stove or a fireplace or a fire pit, that powder is really the plant minerals that the tree sucked up out of the ground. The tree needs a minimum of 3. It needs magnesium to make the leaves green so it can do the photosynthesis thing and get the energy from the sun, phosphorus and potassium to drive growth. Everything else the plant needs it gets from water and from the atmosphere, including nitrogen to make amino acids. And when you take those plant minerals, a.k.a. wood ashes, and throw them out in the garden, the tomatoes and the squash and sweet potatoes and onions and corn, things like bell peppers and okra. I used to love okra. And then things like beans and peas and lentils, all the things you grow in your garden, require these minerals, these 3 basic minerals, but they'll suck up everything in the soil. We need 60, plants only need 3. Well, plants will grow better if you give them all 60. Well, this all ended. This all ended after thousands and thousands of years of people, even before they had gardens, Vincent, people would sprinkle wood ashes on their meat they were roasting because they were salt hungry. If they didn't have access to the sea or trade for salt, they would use wood ashes, plant minerals, as a way of satisfying this craving for salt. And once they had gardens and agriculture began, they would then throw the plant minerals, a.k.a. wood ashes, out into the garden and the fields. Well, this all ended at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Monday, September 4th, 1882. We know the exact moment because this story was a front-page newspaper story in every newspaper on Earth. 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Monday, September 4th, 1882, Thomas Edison pulled the switch on the first commercial electric generating plant on Pearl Street in New York City on the bluff overlooking the construction of the Brooklyn Bridge. Well, within 10 years, every town and every city in the industrialized world converted from wood as a universal fuel to electricity, propane, and natural gas. And unfortunately, there's no plant minerals, there's no wood ashes left over when you fuel your house with wood ashes, when you fuel your house with electricity, propane, and natural gas. And here comes doctors, Vincent, will say, well, you don't need a supplement. You're wasting your money. You'll get expensive urine. You'll just pee out all those vitamins and minerals. You will have to pay all this money, and you're not going to get value out of it. Just eat variety. Put 4 different colors in your food plate, and you'll do fine. Well, that attitude plus the lack of these plant minerals from wood ashes in our systems on a daily basis is why we're amongst the sickest nations on earth. Again, we spend more money for health care than all the nations of the world combined. There's 204 nations, as you know, in the United Nations, and we spend more every year than all of them combined. We rank 92nd in healthiness. There's 91 other nations whose people are healthier than us. We spend more money than all the nations of the world combined, yet we rank 60th in longevity. There's 59 other nations whose peoples live longer than us. And God forgive us, Vincent, we rank 41st when it comes to first-month survivability and live births of our babies. And I point my fingers at OBGYNs. I point my fingers at primary care and family doctors because they should be pushing the nutrition extremely hard because it's an economical way to prevent every birth defect you can name. And we've done this in the livestock industry. I mean, can you imagine how much it would cost to maintain and make a Down syndrome calf productive or a calf with muscular dystrophy, white muzzle disease? and you just have to give them a shot of Selatoc, which is selenium and vitamin E, and you cure them of their muscular dystrophy. And in humans, they say it's genetic. It's the same thing. You give them the 90 essential nutrients, a little extra selenium, we get rid of muscular dystrophy, even if they've had it for 20 years.
Dr. Wallach, I'm kind of grinning here. I was thinking as you were saying this, my MD, whom I see once a year at most, last time I saw him, he was looking at my chart, and he looked down at my chart. He looked over the chart at me, looked down at my chart, looked over the chart at me, and he said, "These numbers are better than mine." Now, I'm 20 years older than my doctor is, and he's looking at my numbers, and they're better than his. And he was like, "How can this be? How can this be?" We got a 60-year-old guy, and a 40-year-old doctor, and it's diet, it's supplements, and that's what it is. And so if he's taking his own advice, and he believes that you don't need anything outside the food you eat, maybe that's why his numbers are not as good as mine. Let me give you the telephone number. If you'd like to call Dr. Joel Wallach's assistant, Brandy Brogdon, I'm going to give you her number. She's going to be at the Get Prepared Expo. She'll be with us Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Actually, probably Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. If you'd like to call her, 615-389-7733. 615-389-7733. I'll give you that number one more time. 615-389-7733. And if you'd like to go to the internet, to our website, and buy the products at the same price that I pay, that would be, you go to usapreparesteam.com, USAPREPARES team.com, usapreparesteam.com. You'll also be able to meet Brandy Brogdon and Dr. Joel Wallach at the Get Prepared Expo. Dr. Wallach, is there anyone who has met you and has tried what you recommend and said, you know what, it didn't work? Is there anyone, has that ever happened?
Never happens. What we do, Vincent, is predictable as gravity. It always works. This is information that's been accumulated at cost of literally trillions of dollars over 100 years, and it works in every vertebrate. I don't care if you're a rabbit, a rat, a mouse, a guinea pig, a hamster, a sheep, a pig, a goat, a horse, a cow. It doesn't matter if you're a chicken, a turkey, a guinea fowl, a quail, a grouse, an alligator, an elephant, or a giraffe, a human being, a hummingbird. It works in every vertebrate. We all require the 90 essential nutrients. And the beauty of working with the zoos and Muller and Perkins, the old Mutual Omaha Wild Kingdom system, I did autopsies on over 454 species of animals from zoos, whales, and really weird stuff from Australia, wombats and Tasmanian devils. The calcium deficiency in over 400 species manifests itself exactly the same. Doesn't matter if you're a Tasmanian devil, a hummingbird, or a human being, or an elephant. A calcium deficiency can manifest itself in 147 different diseases. If you have a vitamin B1 deficiency, you're going to get beriberi, whether you're a hummingbird, a human, a wombat, or a Tasmanian devil. And so what I've learned to do is read the signals in over 450 species of animals and humans. And this gives me a huge advantage over the average doctor who gets, like 30 minutes of nutritional training. They probably have never done an autopsy by themselves in their full life. In all my projects, I've done over 30,000 autopsies. In one case, I did 1,700 autopsies on kids under the age of 10 who died suddenly from a cardiomyopathy heart attack, which in pigs is called Mowbray heart disease, which is a simple selenium deficiency. This is published in 4 languages. It's published in China. It's published in a very, very well-respected international trace mineral research journal right here out of the United States. And so nobody can deny that these things were done. They're peer-reviewed, refereed. All the photographs, microscopic stuff, all the lab work is published. And nobody else has the experience I have. I'm sure I'm not smarter than anybody else. Many of these medical doctors are much smarter than me. I'm just a dumb farm boy from Missouri. But they haven't done the work that I've done. And you know yourself, as a farmer, in many cases, you know more than veterinarians do because you do certain things every day. Your feet are placed on the land all the time, and heat pops in out of the truck. runs out there and does something for one animal, and he doesn't understand everything that's going on in your place like you do. The same thing with your body. If you're using that book, Let's Play Doctor, and doing what you should do yourself, I mean, I do my own physical like every 90 days. I stay on top of it because it only costs me like $3.79 to do a physical. I get free blood pressure, my weight, my pulse, everything is that sort of stuff is free, and then I pay for my test strips. And this is very simple stuff. And so why would you pay $80 copay and then insurance pays the doctor $800 to $1,200, and you can do it for less than $5? It doesn't make sense to me. Plus, you'll know what's going on. You'll spot things quicker. You'll pay more attention. And the book tells you what to do if you find something. And so it's one of those things where it will never fail because it's not something I've made up. I've just accumulated all of the wonderful stuff, and I understand the conversion from animals to people, where medical doctors don't even understand people, let alone converting information from animals to people.
Let me give you out that phone number one more time. If you'd like to talk to Brandy Brogdon, Dr. Joel Wallach's assistant, she's going to be at the Get Prepared Expo. I've spent time with her and Dr. Joel Wallach. Lovely lady. 615-389-7733. 615-389-7733. Dr. Wallach, would you like to tell the story about Brandy Brogdon and how she lost some weight, didn't she?
Yeah, she lost 58 pounds, and she had 3 children. And, of course, when you have children, you have cravings because you're missing minerals. The embryo will steal nutrients from the lady faster than she's taking them in. And Brandy's 5'2", and she weighed 158 pounds. She should only weigh 100, 105 pounds max. And when she had the cravings, it was convenient for her and her job, which is cleaning houses, to carry around with her one of these 2 liters of soft drink, kept full. And she gained 58 pounds after by the time she had her second kid. And after the break, I'll tell you how she got rid of it.
Okay. Dr. Joel Wallach, we're going to talk about some weight loss. I've seen it. I've challenged him to help someone lose weight, and I saw it. I absolutely saw it. I'm Vin Finelli. Dr. Joel Wallach, USA Prepares. Get Prepared Expo, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, this week. Last quick update for the Get Prepared Expo. Over 1 million rounds of ammunition, guns. There'll be gold and silver, 90% junk silver, pre-1964 dimes, quarters, halves, certified and raw silver dollars, government minted silver bullion coins, numismatics. In gold, there'll be U.S. foreign and fractionals and proof for sale. You can buy it right there, take it with you. Bricky water filters, LED lighting. And Dr. Joel Wallach is going to be with us. He'll have his books, his CDs, he'll have his supplements, and you'll be able to meet him one-on-one and learn from him about how you can become as healthy as possible. Dr. Wallach was telling us about Brandy. She weighed 158. She should have been 100 to 105. Let's talk some more about that, Dr. Wallach. What happened?
Okay, Vincent. Yep. And, of course, what she did was take the 90 essential nutrients for her weight. She had to take 2 healthy start packs. That was 1 per 100 pounds of body weight. Even though she's only 5'2", she should have been taking 1 per month. But because she weighed 158, she had to take 2. And then she replaced the 2 liters of Pepsi a day with a couple of servings of our Rebound, which is our sports drink with 100 nutrients in it. And in 21 days, she lost 20 pounds. And she kind of plateaued there for a year. And then we came up with what we call ASAP, which accelerates weight loss. And in 2 months, she lost the other 38 pounds. And now she's 103 again. And she is down to her fighting weight, and she is good. She runs a lot of my operations. She deals with my scheduling, and she also makes sure that all the hotels and car rentals and airplanes and everything are where they're supposed to be. And she's just really great full-time. She takes care of her family, her 3 kids, her husband, plus me. And like I say, she's 50 years old, but she looks like she's 28.
That's Brandy Brogdon. If you'd like to call her, 615-389-7733. 615-389-7733. And if you'd like to contact us and buy your products on the website, it's usapreparesteam.com. usapreparesteam.com. And there's a link on the right side of the website. It says longevity. You can click on that. It'll take you right to the website. That's right from usapreparers.com. Click on longevity. It'll take you right there. Dr. Wallach, I was having dinner with you at Ziggy's, and one of our instructors was interested in losing some weight, and you put him on the Healthy Start Pack. I challenged you. You said, oh, yeah, I can help him. And he lost, I think he lost over 24 pounds in 3 weeks. So, yeah, I saw it work. I mean, I remember seeing him at a meetup a couple meetups later, and I said, wow, yeah, you're not the same guy you used to be. You're smaller. And so I saw it. I mean, I absolutely saw the challenge. I mean, I suggested the challenge, and you came and met it and delivered. So, Dr. Wallach, tired, irritable, grumpy people, does that have any relationship to diet and
sure.
nutrition?
These things, Vincent, are certainly an indicator you're not getting optimal nutrition. The brain requires optimal nutrition, all 90 essential nutrients. Doctors and their little pea brains think your brain only runs on sugar. It's kind of an easy fuel for the brain, but your brain needs all 90 essential nutrients, 60 minerals, 16 vitamins, 12 essential amino acids, 3 essential fatty acids. If you don't get all these 90 essential nutrients, which are the soldiers or men and women in uniform don't get when they're out in the field in the Middle East, they're out there in Afghanistan, Iraq, in Syria, wherever else they're at, they're drinking distilled water. They are eating MREs, meals ready to eat, which are just primarily calories, maybe 3 vitamins. And so they're 87 nutrients short. They come home, they commit suicide. They're irritable. They are frustrated because their brains are missing all this nutrition. And if you take the 90 essential nutrients, everybody will be like you and me. We're tough, we're prepared, and we are normal.
You are right. We are normal. Dr. Joel Wallach, thank you so much for being with you. I'll see you, in a day. Dr.
God
Joel
bless,
Wallach.
Papa.
Yeah, God bless. Dr. Joel Wallach, Senior USAPrepares.com instructor. He's going to be at the Get Prepared Expo. He's going to be dispensing advice, counsel, and information. And you can take the same supplements that I do. Class, above all, honesty, and integrity. What happens next is up to you. See you at the expo.